Hey there, so the stream is over, but I'm going to record finishing this study. So, someone in the comments said that it looks wide, and I agree. So let's make it narrower. And at this point, I have a bunch of layers, but we're working now on smaller details, and at this point it makes sense to merge everything to one layer. So Command A, Command Shift C, Command V. That's a lot of stuff. Actually, let me do it with the layer palette open here. So Command A, select everything. Command Shift C, which copies through all the layers. Command V, which pastes everything on one layer. Then I'm gonna hold Control and click on one of these layers that has just my study. Actually, better. Hold Command, Control, click on the reference layer, and then delete that. So that on the layer I created now, which has everything, it doesn't also have the reference and the light probe, but just my actual painting. Lock transparency, just so I don't have to worry about painting outside of this frame. So let's make it narrower. I think it's mostly through the bottom here. Ah, so nice. I don't have any lag anymore because I'm not streaming. So that distance feels too wide. At the top, I think it's pretty okay. That distance feels better. But let's check, let's measure. Edge to edge. Oh yeah, it is a bit wide. And then at the bottom, so this is probably quite off. Oops. Edge to edge, bring it over. Yeah. So I think it's mostly this side here. Bring that in. And then maybe Control J, Control T, and narrow the whole thing a bit. And move slightly to the left. I think that's better. Doesn't have to be perfect, but it was bothering me once I knew. Cleaning some other things up. It also right now looks very digital because I've been using the airbrush and yeah, working big to small. So if I'm switching to the blend brush, which now is more practical because there's not this lag from the streaming, I can make this more visually appealing by having some of these brush strokes that are more painterly. And it's quite an effective way of working as well. So I'll switch back and forth between using the mixer brush and the regular brush. I also try to capture some of the texture. Like in here we see the weave of the fabric, and that can be done with the mixer brush. For example, if I drop the opacity to 10 by pressing the 1 key and then going left and right. If I zoom in, you can probably see better. Right, I'm dragging the white paint into the dark and the dark out into the light. Not that much though, it's pretty subtle. And just a bit to give it a hint of that texture. What else? Right, I was saying that this is too bent. So we can use liquefy, Command Shift X. Okay, I don't know why that error popped up. Actually, I should select just the part that I want to affect, which would be through here, or maybe not even that side. Maybe like this. Command-Shift-X. Now I can make the brush bigger without affecting other things. Pimp. Done. Okay. Better. I can paint and clean it up. I didn't go straight to painting because there's too much gradient work, too much shading work that would get messed up. I can use the mixer brush though to go up and down that edge. Now raising the opacity to 70 so I can actually draw with the mixer brush. Okay, I need to clean up those corners on both sides, I feel like. So there's lighter values happening up there. I can get rid of my construction lines from the start. And then that cast shadow should be darker. I have to keep considering the whole image though, so right now I'm matching the shadow value that's on the reference, but I think this might now be the darkest value anywhere in my drawing, and that's probably not that good, because now I'm creating a big focal point. Or not a big, it's not big, it's not large, but it's strong because of the strong value. I'm trying to get that shape right as well. Right enough. I'm not obsessing about it. How's that? Yeah, so if you want to keep that value, then I would have to go darker in here for sure. And I think I will, but I'm also going to knock that back a touch, like that. Let's see, other proportion things. I think that sharp cone corner I can move into the center. Making that slightly narrower. Yeah, better. Okay. Core shadow down here. So I'm picking the shadow, the darker shadow value, and painting up. I'm trying to see, I'm lazy. I'm trying to minimize the amount of cleanup I need to do. That was getting a bit too big, and actually that value we can knock down slightly down here. Try not to overdo anything. And I'm on the path to mastery. One brushstroke at a time. And most of them are not going to be that great, but I have that intention. Ideally, I add just a bit less value than I need, or if I'm lucky, just the right amount. If the brushstroke adds the right amount of tone, then I can move on. If I add not enough, then I just repeat the brushstroke until I have enough. But if I add too much, then I have to switch colors or undo. It's just more friction, more work. There's some artifacting or just old brushstrokes there, creating straight lines. So I'm going to switch to my mixer brush and go up and down, trying to just blend it out. sometimes works and sometimes not that well. Oh, this is cool. So here the reflected light is coming up from this area through here. So it kind of makes a channel there. That could be nice to catch. At the moment, for me, it's a dark shadow shape that ends abruptly. So let's see if we can break that boundary very subtly. So my opacity is at 10 right now. Keep squinting to check. I'm making it too thick, but that's okay. I'm gonna come in with the shadow value and thin it up. There's also some occlusion shadow that I missed down here. All of that center can be darker. And then the core shadow on the left kind of comes through like this. And the light value comes like that. And there's some early brush strokes that I need to take care of right here. There's some fraying happening on the original image, which I almost get that impression right now through some of these ragged edges. So let's see if I can maintain that and even highlight it a bit. So see this here? I want to create the way that looks from a zoomed out position. What I don't want to do is copy and literally paint in these fibers, because once we zoom out, that's going to look stupid. And I have done that. That's how I know. If you do this, even if you're careful, it's not going to look good. Much better to zoom out and see what sense, what feeling do I get on the left on your original image, and how can I get that feeling from as zoomed out as possible. So I have to come in a bit, and I'm just going to break that edge. Maybe switch to the regular brush. If there are individual parts of the fraying that stand out, I can put those in, but I'm not going to copy completely. So in here we can probably get lighter. And I'm keeping some of the brush strokes on purpose, and now I'm going in with the mixer brush to add a bit of, like I did the first part, to add a bit of life. And now I'm unifying to just clean it up. And the exact balance between life and cleanliness is of course up to you. There's also a bit of texture in here, those stripes going across. Like this, but it's very subtle. And when I zoom out, it's actually not visible at all. And I need to clean up a bit more, I feel like. I can also clean up with the airbrush. Lowish pressure, like right now I'm on 20. You can change brushstroke pressure quickly, by the way, by pressing the number keys. So 1, 2, 3, 4 corresponds to 100, for, sorry, yeah, 10. So 1, 2, 3 is 10, 20, 30% opacity. And 0, I think will go to 100. And if you press 0 twice, you will actually get to 0. Okay, we can go a touch darker on the inside here. Occlusion shadow. Need to clean up this section. It's such a nice curve and I didn't quite catch it. It's too jagged still from the block in. As I'm switching brushes, maybe you can comment that I'm using 2 brushes mostly. I'm using this sketch brush that I got somewhere a long time ago. And then this brush, which is just a big round soft, which I call the airbrush. Here we can add a bit of light on that part of the fabric. I think it'll be nice to separate it from the background just slightly. Oh yeah, look at that, that's nice. It adds more structural integrity, you could say. Now the fabric makes more sense, because there's the backside. This might be overkill, but let's put it in. Then some of the fraying, again, over there, just indicating it. I think we're close to finished here. Let's get rid of this. Oops, that was on the same layer, so let's do that. Delete and then merge down, merge down. That's my light probe. Actually, let's go through the layers. I can clean up the layers and I can name them, and that whole process might help reinforce the stages that we went through. So let's hide everything. Let's go straight back to the beginning. I lost my placement stage because I just kept working on the same layer. So actually let's make a placement stage. Command Shift N makes a new layer. So I did top, bottom, left, right, and we found halfway mark vertically and horizontally, and we identified this point as being just above halfway. And we found this point as being aligned with the horizontal. Can I match it? There, halfway mark. And if I hide this, lock transparency. There we go. That was mainly our placement stage. That's how we started. And then from there, block in. And then yeah, let's combine these. I call this no-tan block-in. So two-tone block-in. Then work transitions, which is technically part of the no-tan block-in stage, but you could separate it in its own step. This looks like the same, like nothing happened here. Then I did an analysis for the forms to understand it. I did my light probe at the same stage. Big form modeling, so creating those large volumes, and then we darkened the shadows. How to best organize these steps? I think technically it's better to darken the shadows first and then do big form modeling. So can we combine this? Yeah, let's combine it. Let's call this big form modeling. That we don't need anymore. Ambient occlusion. The lights, actually, should be part of big form modeling as well. So I feel bad about letting you sit through me organizing the layers, but I hope it's helpful because I'm figuring out what goes in what order, and you can see me make sense of it, and hopefully that helps you make sense of it better as well. So the lights, I should have put them into the big form modeling stage. So we can do this. So from working no-tan block-in, transitions, let's group those two because that's usually how I think of it. So block-in, no-tan block-in, big form modeling, including adding light, adding, like, going darker on the form shadow, cast shadow, and then adding the ambient occlusion. But in this layer I covered some stuff up here, so that's what I need to get rid of. Sometimes I'm not sure what is on a layer. I'll go Control I to show me everything that's on this layer. Okay. Let's call this medium form modeling because we're going from the big forms to medium forms and then small forms. And I put a / finishing because that's really the final touches. So every stage or the whole process goes from big, medium, small, general to more and more specific. And anything last minute changes? I see the reference has a very light value on the top left. My dodge tool is not there. Okay, here we go. So we could use the dodge tool to do something like this, and if it's helpful for the composition, I'll keep it, and if not, I won't. yeah, it adds a little bit of life. No, this side was getting a bit too dark. And then this little patch of fabric that's being hit by light is really bright. So let's do that. I quite like that in the reference. Dodge is very sensitive. So I'm at 10% opacity now. I'll go 0, 3. Now I'm at 3%. And it's still, I can definitely see the differences that my brush strokes are making. I'm just tweaking the values slightly, pushing some things a touch lighter. And man, the finishing, like the last 5% of changes can take up, if you're really going all the way, it can take up like 50% of the time you're spending on a project. It is remarkable. But I'm not going to do that here. I'm not going to spend another couple hours. But I could. One could. And I would definitely highly recommend that you do a few drawings where you go all the way. I can pull up some examples for that in a second. But yeah, here we go. This is the final study. If I had more time, what I would do is sharpen some things, add some calligraphic brushstrokes, some fun brushstrokes. Right now it's looking too digital, too soft everywhere. It would be nice to have a bit of like more life in it. Damn it. This is my being ambitious. Like as I'm saying this, I'm looking at it. I can't let it go. I can't post it like this. So for better and worse, this is what helps me stick with projects and go and push. And I think overall it's a good thing. I'm on the wrong layer. That's why nothing was happening. Back too small for modeling. So I'm gonna darken the cast shadow a touch. And yeah, I want to give some life. It's just not a nice painting right now. So I'm going to go and look for some brushes that have more texture. And I'll place these textured brushstrokes strategically. And a good way to do it is put the brushstroke down and then erase out whatever is too much. Or pick the value that's there and just paint on top. And maybe switch to the blending brush, mixer brush. Get some life in like that. Sometimes I overdo something and then come back and calm it down. I do have hotkeys for brush size and actually the brush itself. I think that's quite useful. Oh, what have I done going back in? Now it's gonna be at least 15 minutes. So you're like going down one more floor into the rabbit hole. At least that's how I'm experiencing it. Some nice fraying up here. We can try this lasso selection and then painting it in. Command H will hide the selection but keep it active. I quite like that. Maybe we can do the same. Some of these texture lines. And I'll make a new layer for this. Command Alt Shift and N. Control H. Okay, see what's happening there? Now this is too strong, but that's okay. Control D, E for eraser, and I'm erasing back to the level that feels good from afar. And if I'm zooming in, that's probably too sharp, so I can go blender brush. I keep saying blender brush, it's called mixer brush. Mixer brush, and just soften this up a bit. And maybe even add some smaller marks. Just make it more organic, break it up a bit. That's better. What else? The core shadow over here is a bit too fat. So why is that? I think my reflected line needs to get closer to the edge. The value is good, I think, but it needs to come over. And up there it's actually getting very thin. You can probably see things that I can't see because I've been staring at this for 2 hours now. I wish you could tell me. Okay, merge this down and I'll hide this layer for a second to see what I've done in the polishing. We can call this, merge that together, call this finish/polish and take the word finishing out from here. Yes, I wanted to fix that flow through here. There's a little kink in there, and I don't mean in a good way. So before, after, I'm trying to get a cleaner flow. Whoa, too much. Okay, I don't have enough control with Liquify. Let's just paint it. %70 opacity because I want to cover the dark stuff there. Can I call it finished? Sometimes a tricky way, or like a trick to use to tie a drawing together, is to add a few calligraphical lines on top. And I'll show you what I mean. So these can be a bit darker. Make a new layer just in case. Okay, so this brush is madness. It's chaos, you can't control it. But it can create some really nice strokes. So I'm going to go along where I feel that there's more contrast on the original and less on my drawing. And I want to spice things up a bit. So I'll zoom in. It's really abstract, but I just gave more importance to that corner. I don't want to do it in here, I think. That could be overkill. But maybe very thinly. Can also make things look a bit more sketchy, which then the viewer will forgive that not everything is really refined if it has a sketchy feel. So this line is pretty aggressive and is definitely not in the reference. But having it there, I'm not sure yet if it works, but it might. I think we need to have some of these fraying strokes up there, because that corner is coming close to us, like it's coming forward. So having a bit more contrast is helpful. With these things it's super fine. It's a balancing act. Let's get rid of some of the soft dark stuff bleeding through, and this may not come through on the video, but I feel like this edge is too thick, too soft, so I'm going in with the background value and bring it up right against the edge just to give some extra crispness. Better, but overkill on the fraying, so I'm gonna knock it down. It's all push and pull. There, I think that works. Nature is so beautiful. It's so beautiful. Like my edge on my drawing is all going soft, sharp, soft, all random, and it's jagged. And on the reference, that is just so nice. So I want to capture it. I can sharpen down here. Then the curve is not quite right, so I need to curve out more. And as I'm doing this, I feel like this is probably similar to when someone's playing the piano and is trying to get the right notes. Like have the correct harmony. And if it's not right, you just have to keep tweaking it. Keep playing it again. Keep playing it again. It's too narrow at the top. Sometimes I select Ctrl-Shift-C, Ctrl-V and move it, and then erase to create smooth transitions. I think that's better if we hide this before and after. It's getting a touch too sharp now, so back in, softening. And that's what I meant, the last 5%. Okay, did I merge everything already? No, good. So I think this is now a bit too aggressive, so I'm just using the eraser to make it a bit more subtle. Almost done. There's a bit too much contrast in this reflected light area. So big airbrush, just unifying everything. Okay, now I am happy enough, almost. Let's add some texture in the background, just to not make it dead. Very subtle, adding a tiny bit of texture there. You can combine these with the mixer brush, so whenever you have too much texture, just knock it back. Finish polish, that's the one layer now, and we're done. Thanks for your patience, and I hope this was insightful and fun, and I hope you followed along and made your own drawing. And Until next time, I wish you happy drawing. Take care. Bye.